Denuclearization refers to the process of reducing or eliminating nuclear weapons from a country or region. In the case of Pakistan, denuclearization would involve dismantling or securing its nuclear arsenal to prevent its use in war or by rogue elements. Pakistan became a nuclear state in 1998, presenting itself as a counterbalance to India's nuclear capability. However, concerns have grown over the years due to rising instability within the country. The fear is not just about state-to-state conflict, but about the possibility of nuclear weapons falling into the wrong hands due to internal collapse. But how could Pakistan ever be denuclearized? One theory gaining attention is Balkanization, the fragmentation of Pakistan into smaller, independent regions driven by ethnic, economic, and political divisions. Pakistan is far from ethnically homogeneous. It is a nation composed of Punjabis, Sindhis, Balok, Pashtuns, Muhajirs, and others, each with their distinct culture, language, and historical grievances. Punjab dominates the military, bureaucracy, and national politics, creating resentment among other provinces. Balochistan has long demanded autonomy, alleging exploitation of its vast mineral and energy resources without adequate returns. Sindh harbors political unrest due to ethnic tensions and economic marginalization. Pashtuns, who share ethnic and cultural ties with Afghanistan, have repeatedly clashed with the Pakistani state over autonomy and military operations in their regions. These tensions have not only fueled protests and political resistance, but also violent insurgencies, shaking the foundations of national unity. Pakistan's economic outlook has become increasingly dire. External debt has reached unsustainable levels, forcing repeated bailouts from the IMF and friendly nations. Inflation is crippling the lower and middle classes. The Pakistani rupee continues to fall in value, making imports more expensive and increasing economic stress. Provinces like Sindh and Balochistan argue that their resources fund the central government, but development is concentrated in Punjab. The unequal distribution of wealth is sharpening provincial discontent. Economic desperation is creating fertile ground for insurgency and separatist ideologies. One of the greatest internal threats to Pakistan is not external invasion, but internal chaos, specifically the rise of militant and extremist groups. Groups like the TTP have directly attacked state institutions and civilians. Sectarian violence, especially targeting Shias, Ahmadis, Hindus and Christians, has become increasingly common. Religious extremism, often tolerated or ignored by the state in the past, has now become a major destabilizing force. These groups erode the state's authority and make it harder to govern or maintain control over large parts of the country. If the state fractures, the control of nuclear assets becomes a serious global concern. Among the most prominent separatist movements is the Balochistan Liberation Army, or BLA. The BLA accuses Islamabad of colonizing Balochistan, exploiting its natural wealth and neglecting its development. The BLA has launched attacks on military convoys, infrastructure projects, and even Chinese nationals involved in the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, often referred to as CPEC. The group has gained sympathizers among the youth of Balochistan, who see independence as the only path to dignity and progress. The BLA's activities have become more organized and internationalized, prompting fears that it could become a model for other separatist groups. The rise of the BLA highlights how deeply the sense of alienation runs in Pakistan's largest and most resource-rich province. Pakistan's centralization of power in Islamabad and dominance by Punjab has led to growing resentment. Balochistan, which produces most of Pakistan's natural gas, receives only a fraction of the revenue. Sindh, home to Karachi, the economic capital, claims it contributes disproportionately in taxes, but sees little development. Other regions accused the central government of ignoring their needs while favoring Punjab in infrastructure, education and defense spending. Such economic injustice is often the tipping point in national disintegration. When people feel left behind and ignored, separatism becomes a powerful narrative. India, Pakistan's longtime rival, observes these developments closely. A fractured Pakistan would mean a weakened adversary, potentially reducing the threat of cross-border terrorism and military conflict. Balkanization may allow India to focus more on its internal development and security without the constant shadow of nuclear escalation. However, India must also consider the risks: instability, refugee flows, and the rise of uncontrolled militant groups in the region. From a strategic standpoint, India might welcome the denuclearization of a post-Balkanized Pakistan, where nuclear assets could be dismantled or controlled through international supervision. Balkanization doesn't happen overnight, it follows a pattern. First, internal disintegration, continued ethnic conflict, economic collapse, and erosion of central authority. Second, the rise of autonomous zones. Provinces begin to act independently, politically, economically, and militarily. Third, external support. Dissident movements gain international sympathy or backing. Fourth, the collapse of central governance. The military and bureaucracy lose cohesion, leading to a complete breakdown. Fifth, the declaration of independence. Regions like Balochistan or Sindhu Desh may officially break away. And finally, international intervention. The global community, alarmed by nuclear risks, intervenes diplomatically or militarily. While unlikely in the short term, the ingredients for balkanization are visible and growing. The big question remains: if Pakistan were to balkanize, can it be denuclearized? Pakistan's nuclear arsenal is under military control, primarily by institutions based in Punjab. In a fragmented scenario, the command and control systems could collapse, increasing the risk of nuclear weapons falling into extremist hands. The international community, led by the United Nations, the United States, India, the European Union, Russia, and perhaps China, may step in to neutralize or dismantle nuclear assets. A successful denuclearization would likely involve multilateral operations, recognition of new states under strict conditions, and long-term security guarantees. It is technically possible, but politically and logistically difficult. The idea of Pakistan being balkanized and denuclearized is complex, controversial, and high risk, but it's not without precedent. Many nations have fractured under the weight of unresolved ethnic conflict, economic crisis, and poor governance. Today, Pakistan stands at a crossroads. It can choose to reform, embrace inclusivity, economic justice, and decentralization, or continue down a path that might one day make balkanization not a theory but a reality. And if that day comes, the world must be ready not just to witness history, but to manage its most dangerous implications.